Welcome to a little bit earlier edition of Inside Texas Football, powered by the Inside Texas YouTube channel. We'll skip the pleasantries. We know why you're here. Justin, this morning, obviously you and Eric reported over at Inside Texas that Johntay Cook, no longer with the program, sophomore receiver out of DeSoto, was part of a receiver room that thought to be six deep. The rotation kind of whittled down. That's reflected in the targets. We'll get into that. Just kind of overall thoughts on, the reaction you got when you heard and were able, to report this news.
Yeah, this was something. This wasn't something new. This was something that's been kind of building up. And I know a couple weeks ago, or maybe a week ago, Chris Jackson posted a picture on Twitter of all the wide receivers out hanging out. I think they were eating breakfast or doing something together. That kind of sign of unity. And Johntay was the only one missing. Now, of course, Chris Jackson came back with a tweet probably, 15, 20 minutes later. It says, hey, Johntay's sick. That's the only reason he's not in there, da-da-da-da-da. But I do think that was symbolic because Johntay is at a point where, sometimes guys get impatient. Sometimes guys, they want those targets. And he's a competitor, Joe. That's how Johntay is. He's a competitor. This kid wants to play. And he's good at it. But at the end of the day, Texas is so good when it comes to depth. But sometimes you have to convince all your guys depth is the key. Starting may not be the key. Getting early targets may not be the key, but depth is the key. And, sometimes in the wide receiver room, those guys get a little impatient. And I think at the end of the day, Johntay got really impatient, and he wants a fresh start, a new opportunity. And it's sad, Joe, because I think he was going to get major targets next year. I know him and Arch Manning had actually connected quite a bit on and off the field. And so that's the disappointing thing for me, because this kid was about to get hella targets next year, but he's impatient, and I think this is the way it's going. So,
yeah, I'm kind of looking at the Pro Football Focus targets and things like that to see how this got whittled down. Matthew Golden is the leader in targets with 33. Isaiah Bond's right behind him. Golden and Bond have 33. Wingo with 29. DeAndre Moore with 23. And then it goes Silas Bolden 16 and Johntay Cook 10. Like, that tells you a lot right there about a little bit of reasoning why this might be happening. Is we thought this was going to be six deep. That's something Steve Sarkisian has never done. Instead, Ian, it seems like he kind of went toward what he knows, and that's whittling down a wide receiver rotation to a group of four that he trusts.
Yeah, and I think we have seen one Texas wide receiver get action this season that maybe is not always the most trustworthy guy, and that's Ryan Wingo. And the reason for that is that Ryan Wingo is a sensational talent, and you live with the consequences of playing a freshman in his case, because you know that he's going to make a few big plays now, and it's going to help him be just a world-class player in the future. So, it was inevitable that somebody was going to be on the outside looking in. And that's what we're all pointing to, right? Somebody really talented and really skilled was going to end up on the outside looking in and unhappy and transferring. And that's fine. That's modern college football.
Justin, just kind of curious, what does this do to the room? Do you think it affects the room that much with a, run to the SEC championship going on? Does it change a ton? Like, we're going to hear from Sark in just about 2 hours, and he'll on a media Zoom, and he'll let us know, what happened here or however much he wants to divulge. But do you think this really changes the room that much, considering, like we just said, he was sixth in targets out of those big six?
I really not in 2024. Has he even played the last 2 weeks? I'm not sure if he's even had reps in the last 2 weeks or last two games, rather.
I can open up his snap count in just a second.
Right. And so, but that kind of gives you an idea. Joe, you nailed it. It's Sark He doesn't usually play a deep bench. And you know what? There was a lot of that rotating the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. But I think Sark has gotten into a routine with the guys that they're going with right now, and he was just on the outside looking in. Again, this kid was set up for major targets next season from Arch Manning, but it doesn't. I don't think it affects 2024 unless you just see a rash of injuries knock on every piece of wood in this house like you did at running back. I just don't think it's going to have that kind of effect. But you hate to lose a kid like that because he is an ultra competitive kid. He's got great hands, great route running. He's going to land on his feet. He's going to do well wherever he goes. He's that kind of a talent, but it does not affect 2024. I think this team is so deep at receiver. Losing one guy is not going to have too much of an effect. Again, I don't even think he's played the last few weeks, and so it's going to it's gonna linger there a little bit, but I don't see it being any sort of effect.
He last played. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, the timing of this is actually, isn't it not great if they make the playoffs and then they don't have him? I mean, like let's say Texas makes the SEC championship game, and in that game, one of their starting wide receivers is injured. So they lose Matthew Golden, right? Then you get into the playoffs and you're already down 2 because Cook's not around. And then maybe somebody else gets hurt. Well, all of a sudden, you're starting to look at not a very good situation. So I
agree, but that's the battle. Everybody is facing that battle to an extent.
Yeah. I know, but these mid-season departures, it's hard to stick around for the playoffs because then you're cutting into your ability to transfer for the spring portal. So I get that part, but not even waiting to see how the season plays out is less impressive and less great about this situation, right?
No, for sure. I mean, I think everybody here is, for the most part, all for a lot of the player empowerment that has come in the past 5 years, but that doesn't mean there's not downside for the programs. And ability to draw criticism for that new power that you have, the new responsibility that you have. Johntay was a 5-star, and if you're joining in, you can see on the bottom, Johntay Cook's no longer with the program. In that class, in that 2023 class, they signed Johntay, number 31 overall, Ryan Niblett, who's bounced around, and DeAndre Moore. It's one of those things where what happens for guys in that class? DeAndre Moore's carved out a role. We've seen Ryan Niblett moved all over. Justin, do you think maybe he could get back at? He seems like to be the essential man everywhere at this point.
Yeah, actually, I think you might see a little bit more of Ryan Niblett maybe in that route role as well. That's going to be your difference. But again, he just wasn't. It wasn't a deep bench. We kind of knew that Sark, the more he got into the season, the shorter everybody's reps was going to get, everybody's minutes. The only people whose rotations aren't going to change are on the defensive line. Those guys will be kept fresh on a regular basis. Everybody else, Drew made a really great point last night, and it's almost ironic in a way, but he talked about, when he played, you were a starter and you were the only guy that played. There was the backups only came in if you were hurt or if it was late fourth. Like you literally, it wasn't like a committee type deal where so many guys, like Sark is so good at rotating so many different guys. Kelson says, we didn't do that. Like you were either the man or you just didn't play. You just had to wait. And so with Johntay, it's natural to be impatient. To want to see the success on the field with the guys that you've been working with for the last year and a half. He wants to be a part of that. It's almost it's sad in a way because I love that kid. I think everybody knows that. I've known that kid for a long time. His coaches at DeSoto were great, but this is a move that Sark is just it is what it is. Ian said it. This is college football now in 2024. And Ryan Niblett's going to get some more run. He has to anyway, simply because he's actually been effective in his little role they've carved out for him now. I just feel terrible for Johntay. I feel terrible because of the drop in the Mississippi State game. I know that stuck to him. I know he had a hard time with that one. We've seen that with other players as well. But ultimately, you're going to have Niblett take a little bit more reps, I think, in that wide receiver room. And don't forget, you can move those guys around a lot. That's one of the things I think Chris Jackson has done well is DeAndre Moore doesn't always have to play inside. Parker Livingstone doesn't always have to play outside. Like these guys they're interchangeable in a sense. And so I think you're going to see that bench stay short. I think it's a trust thing with Sark. It's a trust thing with Quinn Ewers. And at the end of the day, Niblett's in line to get some more reps in practice and potentially in games.
I see this comment here from El Gato, and get your questions in. We'll try to go over them as much as we can. We keep bringing in portal wide receivers and need to develop what's in house. I've got a couple counterpoints to that.
Yeah,
DeAndre Moore didn't play at all last year. Essential part of this offense now. Second year in the program. Ryan Wingo, brand new guy, and a lot of what he has is God-given. Essential part of this offense, even more so now. After the 2023 season, here are the wide receivers that they had on the roster: Johntay Cook, Ryan Niblett, DeAndre Moore, Ryan Wingo, Parker Livingstone, Freddie DuBose. And I think there was one more who Aaron Butler. You cannot go through a season with 7 wide receivers. Just point blank. You can't go through a season with 7 wide receivers. So they had to go to the portal out of necessity. And you could argue like, well, they could have just gotten depth guys. Well, why? Why would you get depth guys when you can get difference makers? And you can do that.
Why drive a Pinto when you can drive a Camaro?
Yeah, exactly. So they went to the portal because you can't go through a season with 7 wide receivers. Like, I don't know how else to say it.
And another point, Joe, Sark is starting to send these guys to the league.
Mm-hmm.
Adonai Mitchell, portal guy. Like that, yeah, they're developing. They've got Jordan Whittington. They're in that development phase. Xavier Worthy, they get full credit for that. Adonai Mitchell was a portal guy too. But Texas they'll get credit for that. They get credit for him going to the Colts in the second round. It's a give and take, but you made excellent points on that one, man. You do want to develop what's in house, and you will do that. I think that's what's going to happen. With the new kids that are coming in, with Khalil Lockett and a Jamie French and a Dalen McCutcheon. That's why you bring those guys in, but you still have holes. And you have guys that leave early. If Jaden Blue were to pop off 1,200 yards this year, he was going to the NFL, guys. He was going straight. So you develop running backs in-house, but you also have to look in the portal to shore up your roster. In 2024, that roster has to be buttoned up. And, fellas, in 2025, it's going to be even more. When that scholarship number goes to 105, you're going to see even more of this type of stuff where kids may not want to be depth. Kids may not want to wait, but – ultimately, that's just the way of the world in this college football landscape.
Here, I have a question. If you can theoretically bring in guys in the portal every year who are with you for 1 year and then are successful enough to go to the NFL after that year, why would you do anything else? Like, why is it important? Why is it important to recruit and develop your receivers from recruiting if you can consistently get NFL ready players in the transfer portal? Like, I just don't understand. I mean, I know Texas is going to try to do both and have their cake and eat it too, but I don't understand I feel like this is a mentality from fans that are not fully understanding how different things are now. Like, if you're the Lakers, why would you worry about the draft if you can always go get the superstar in free agency?
You're on the wrong side of town. The Rams did this to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. I mean, the Yankees, right? If you develop a farm system, that's great. Sure. But it's better? Let somebody else develop them and then just go steal them.
I have to say something really quick, Joe, because our boy Connor thinks he's slick. He thinks he's slick. No, why I wasn't going to use a Lamborghini or a Ferrari in this instance because Chris Henry Jr. isn't part of the joke. If Chris Henry Jr. was part of this joke, then he would be a Lamborghini. But we were talking Pinto Camaro. Ain't nothing wrong with a Camaro. I'm about to get on Connor. I'm about to text him.
So trying to look at some of the other questions that we got. somebody mentioned this. Sure, he's fast. I don't know how compared to the other guys, but he dropped his touchdown opportunity.
Route running is pristine. One of the best route runners. Yes.
Route running is his strength. Blocking, who knows? And we see what we see in games. Chris Jackson and Sark see what they see in practice, and that's what determines who gets in the games. Connor, speaking of, jumped in here. He helped to get
it looks like Johntay confirmed our report.
Bounce back. You can see it right under the on-3 red. It says bounce back going to be crazy. So it's kind of illustrative right there of what's going on and how our report was spot on. Good job, Justin. Good job, Eric. So obviously, when we're looking forward facing a little bit, this Longhorn team needs Isaiah Bond to be healthy and ready to go for the rest of this season, don't they, Ian? For a lot of different reasons.
Yeah. You're on that by me again.
This team needs Isaiah Bond for a lot of different reasons.
Man.
That was the name I missed. Yeah, I don't think they have anybody else that's been as consistent about making explosive plays underneath or down the field. Maybe down the field, they've been pretty good. It's hard to know without Silas Bolden getting a little more action. But it seems like Isaiah Bond is the only actual NFL ready guy, like I mentioned. Like last year, Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell were both on that level. I'm not sure anybody is on that level with Bond this year. I think it might just be him. Maybe next year DeAndre Moore will be there.
No, next year it'll be Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden is going to be an NFL level receiver, if he isn't already.
Maybe Golden is now, but we just haven't quite seen it.
Right. No, I'm saying for next year. I think Golden trickles down next year. I think Golden and Moore are the two most consistent pass catchers in the program.
It's hard to know with Ewer's injury. It makes it blurrier as to whether Bond being out, if Golden could have just stepped in and done the same things. That didn't happen. Is that because Golden is not quite there yet in terms of getting open, or is that because?
But Ian, you and I have even seen instances of Matthew Golden in the last 3 games being wide but open.
Yeah.
In certain areas. I mean, if anyone has been open and we're like, "Ooh, dang, did you see that?" It's Matthew Golden. To your point, Bond is the most NFL ready, but buddy, Matthew Golden might be the dude coming out of that one next year.
John Ross can get drafted. Isaiah Bond can too. I'm going to knock this out real quick, guys. If you want to go to the game this weekend, go to Arkansas like Justin's doing. Come to Senior Day for Kentucky, or head to Texas A&M, which may be pretty tough. It won't be tough on Game Time. Use the promo code ON3 or go to gametime.co or use the Game Time app. If you use that promo code, you will get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. It is a great way to get tickets and to sell tickets if you need to. Used it the other day. So go ahead. You get the all-in pricing. You're not hit with fees right before you hit checkout. You're not, wondering how much that cost really is. You know what you're pressing purchase on. And of course, you can go to the app. You can see where your view will be, what your view will be, whether that's in DKR, whether that's at AT&T Stadium, Kyle Field, Razorback Stadium, all over the place. Go to gametime.co, use the promo code ON3, get $20 off your first purchase. Of course, terms apply. There are a good amount of people in the comments, and we just went over this when talking about Johntay Cook leaving the program. How does this affect recruiting? I mean, here's the thing. Sark has played a short wide receiver rotation, 4 deep tops, every season he's been at Texas. Like, I'm thinking of that first season. He had Worthy. He had whoever went to Marcus Washington, and then Whittington when healthy, and then maybe the Iowa State transfer every now and then. But once Whittington got hurt, they just tried Milton. Tariq Milton. Yeah.
Tariq Milton. Thatcher was his walk-on brother.
They went, I don't know. But they went, they went, really? I didn't know that.
Isn't that his brother, Thatcher Milton?
I don't think so.
Oh, that was strange. You brought in 2 Miltons in the same class that were from the same town and they're not related. That's crazy.
think so. Anyway,
sorry, Joe.
Four deep in 2021. Worthy, Whittington, Washington, and Milton. Switched to 12 personnel a lot. Hey, that's what they are. 2022, Worthy, Whittington, who's the third? This is going to haunt me. The third wide receiver in 2022. You know what? I can check on
Worthy, Whittington.
I do not believe that Patrick
They
Milton
didn't have
is
one.
Tariq's brother, by the way.
Jatavian
Sanders was the third receiver. I don't think that's what you're looking
they didn't
for.
have a third receiver in 2022.
Yeah.
So still, like, that's all they get. Casey Kane kind of toward the end, maybe.
There you go.
That's what it was. But yeah, that was a run-based offense. They did that heavy 12 personnel to set up Bijan. So again, 3 deep at best. 2023, Mitchell, Worthy, Whittington, and then who would Cook on occasion? Like, still 4 deep this year. 4 deep. Like, Sark and Chris Jackson and even Andre Coleman before him in that brief period, and Brennan Marion before him in that brief season, like, they go 4 deep. So it's not like they're lying to recruits or anything. Not lying about usage. And again, no one's saying this. Like, you recruit to fill your room, and if you can get the best players available from both outlets, then you get the best players available from both outlets. That's my take on it. Now, do you need to make sure that you're not only portaling? Yeah, 100%. But they're not.
Every coach is trying to find the balance, Joe. Yeah. That's what every coach in college football is trying to do right now. Find that happy balance with recruiting high school kids, developing them, and then also patching up holes on your roster through the portal. And there was always going to be instances where you brought in portal guys that hadn't paid their dues in the program with a guy that they may have recruited, and that was always going to bring out animosity. That's just human nature. College coaches are trying to strike that perfect balance. I don't know if there is one. I just know you're going to have to do it on a day-to-day, week-to-week, year-to-year basis when you're continually evaluating your roster. And if there's one thing Sark has proven to us, he will churn the bottom of this Texas roster every season, every offseason. He will churn out guys that aren't getting it done, and he will look for guys to come in that will get it done, because it's a show me now type mentality in 2024. You've got to do it. Look, we love the depth. We love the depth that Sark has built on this team. Not every single player is bought in when it comes to that sort of depth. Most of them in this program are. I'd say the majority are. But you're going to have a few guys every year, every cycle, that they're not as big on that depth chart as some of the other guys. Or they think they need to have another opportunity. They have to do it somewhere else. Again, I hate this for Johntay. I absolutely love that kid. But this is the way Sark works. And you hate that room is so. I mean, it's a best problem to have when you've got a Johntay Cook that leaves, but you still have 5 other dudes that have major reps, major targets, and major production. It's a product of the system.
Justin, didn't they used to say at Miami? I can't remember if this was in one of the U docs or if I saw it elsewhere, but the players in Miami used to be, like, in their heyday, used to be like, if you got hurt and lost your spot, that's on you.
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody in this. If you're not a dog, then you don't belong in this program. Everybody here gets it. If you're the best, you play. If you're not, you can go. We're fine. That's obviously what Sark wants at Texas, is where, because the previous, you end up with a Cowboy Jerry Jones Country Club deal that has plagued Texas in the past. If you have anointed guys, and then everything becomes, we have to make sure this guy's happy. That's never served Texas well.
No.
You want this. You want the competition where guys leave because they can't play, because there's too many other dogs.
It's a sign of a healthy program in a backwards way.
The one final thing I want to say to this whole, like, portal versus recruiting thing, the guys who have the most targets, or actually, you know what? I'll say receptions. It's worth it this time. High school, portal. High school portal. Portal on the right. PR. Okay. Gunnar Helm, Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond, Jaden Blue, Trey Wisner, Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore, Silas Bolden, Johntay Cook. It's 6-3 high school to portal as far as targets. And I know I mixed positions there.
But that's okay because Ryan Niblett would also be on the side of being recruited.
Right. And he's boom. Counteracted by Nyblack. Velton Gardner out for the year. Counteracted by Livingstone. And even at wide receiver, it's 2-2.
I think Sark has found that balance. This is just the casualty of war, in my opinion.
I agree with y'all. So if you're just now joining us, obviously we've been going on this topic for about 25 minutes. If you are seeing this for, just now clicking on X or on YouTube or wherever you grab it, you can scroll back. We have a lot of in-depth breakdowns about this topic. And so check it out. Before we get into some of the Florida stuff we plan to talk about starting, in about 4 or 5 minutes, we'll give some love to our other sponsor, and that's Andre the Lawyer. Oh, wait, I hit the wrong thing. Oh, man, that's the first time I've ever done that. Now take it away, LC.
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the Lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the Lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. The contact information is in the description.
So let's keep on moving with kind of normal topics. And again, if you were just now tuning in, head to the start. We'll be able to, you'll get all the Johntay Cook info there. But some of the more pertinent info, at least as far as last night goes, I was looking at the injury report. I know y'all probably talked about this a little bit, Justin, last night. Yeah. Isaiah Bond, probable, and then Makuba, questionable. Colton Vosick, questionable as well. But it feels like the more important injury report is on the Gators side of things.
Man, there's a dozen dudes on that thing.
Yeah, there were the most important one obviously being DJ Lagway, listed as questionable. Our buddy Zach over at Gators Online, which if you're needing to get some Florida fix, go over to Gators Online. They do a great job. We should have some crossover content with them before too long today, maybe even on their YouTube channel. One of the big things is that Billy Napier, man, I'm trying to do 10 things at once. Billy Napier said that DJ Lagway practiced yesterday. And who knows what that means?
It means gamemanship.
He could have picked up a football. He could have walked onto the field. He could have just carried a clipboard. But DJ Lagway was said to have practiced yesterday.
Joe, can you clarify? I believe you explained this once. Don't the rules of being out, questionable or probable, don't they? Is it like the NFL where it comes down to whether or not you are participating in practice?
I don't believe so.
No,
that's how the NFL does.
No,
that's how the NFL.
Can they just lie? Can they lie?
Yes.
Well, then what's the point?
Vegas.
I think it's more for the out versus in. I think the binary is more important.
But
yeah, Ian's right.
Right. I'm with you.
Yeah.
You know what it sounds like then? You know what it sounds like?
Too, buddy.
It sounds like it's a scam to convince credible young dudes to go bet on football games and believe that they have a comparable level of information as the house.
Well, if they're betting, they should know the house is going to know more anyway. Maybe this is their life lesson in betting. The SEC's teaching our youth how to gamble, y'all.
I don't like it. It feels like a scam.
I don't gamble anyway, so it don't make a dang to me.
Somebody on our board made the point about how remember the 2022 Oklahoma where they like marched Gabriel out there just to suit up and do nothing. And I don't know, maybe I'm trying to figure out what point I'm trying to make here as I'm making it.
Coaches
But like,
do not. Well, this is the one thing coaches just. You want to talk about a paranoid job? College football coaching. They don't like people knowing their injury. NFL guys don't either. High school guys don't either. So with college, with this system, I think they're still trying to I think they're trying to figure out what they can say and what they can get away with not saying.
I mean, Homer, who's appreciate you being on here.
Thank you. You're right.
Look at Ole Miss's. Okay, there's Georgia. Very straightforward. Smile, Mondon, Jordan Hall, Ole Miss. 1, 2, 3 guys who are out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
God, 11, I wish Texas played Ole Miss this year.
14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 guys.
The roster, Joe. Quarter of the roster.
I know. But as far as the injury report, Montrell Johnson being questionable, that's important for the Gators as well. Elijah Badger being questionable, that's important. Again, who knows what Billy Napier really means by this? But the fact that these guys are on there means that somebody at Florida said, like, hey, we really can't go ahead and say like that they're going to be all good to go, you know?
Well, also, you know, from just this brief time of us doing this and seeing what Sark's put out there, everyone that he has used, we've actually confirmed. So I think Sark's trying to do it by the book. I really do. I think he's trying to do it by the rules because each time something were to pop up, once we figured it out, like with Trevor Gooseby, like it was, okay, this was legit. This was like a real thing. But this is still the SEC. Coaches are still going to try to find every single advantage and edge they can. And so with Florida, I think this is some gamesmanship. I actually think this is pretty upfront, but I do think the Lagway practicing is a little bit of a stretch. Like deflating footballs doesn't necessarily constitute practicing, but that's a word that may be a little more subjective than we say.
Want to go to the Texas side of it.
Blake got me. Blake Bryant got me. I know.
Early
Blake, give me a break.
New Vernon Broughton's out for the first half. We learned yesterday with Sark that Velton Gardner is out for the season with an eye injury. Colton Vosick,
crazy thing.
I know.
Actually, Ian, I don't know if you were in my text the other day. That's actually something I'm seeing more and more with high school kids getting eye infections because what happens is the turf monster, all those little pellets of tire get caught a lot of times. You see them come up in plays and photos and stuff like that. Sometimes they get in the eye, and buddy, they cause pure hell to those kids. And so I don't know if that's what Velton Gardner dealt with, but I do know there is kind of a trend. If you see an eye injury, a lot of times it's those pellets coming up, and just so happens because I have 400 in my shoe after every time I go cover a game. So I can't imagine how many I'm dragging in, but sometimes they get popped in their eye, and it is what I'm told some of the worst pain.
We have back-to-back comments. Maybe Lagway was at practice and not in practice, which, you know.
It's gamesmanship. Listen, you think Billy Napier wants to stand up in front of all of them and go, hey, my third-string walk-on, he's ready. No. Don't give Texas anything. No.
Ian, you did write a pretty good article the other day about what the Gator run game is going to try to do. And now, man, without Lagway and maybe without one of their best offensive linemen, that run game is going to look a little bit different. But on the flip side, you have Texas probably having to start Jermaine Lolay at defensive tackle for this game.
You know, something that stands out to me is Makuba. Because, like you're saying, Texas is a little more thin up front without Broughton. Makuba has been outstanding this season. But where he's been outstanding is in helping Texas just, like, suffocate passing attacks. And you don't need that this week. So I would wonder if they'll probably play Makuba, but I would maybe ease him in a little gently and get more Jelani McDonald out there, because this is a Jelani McDonald game where your anticipation is that Florida's just going to run, and having that big safety out there who's really showing out well at coming downhill in the alley is that he may potentially would even be a better fit for this game than Makuba. I don't think he needs to replace Makuba long term, because I think the passing defense element is more valuable in the long term. But for a game like this, I would definitely, like AR is saying, give Makuba a limited snap count and let's get McDonald some more work.
After them, it'll be what's his name, Jordan Johnson-Rebel. So I mean, and this is a good opportunity for McDonald. I wonder.
I've got some, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Joe.
Oh,
I see this thing over here. Any news on Jarrett Gibson? And I saw some of the running backs here, and I was going to shift to that whenever you're ready to give these guys maybe a little bit of scoop on Thursday. Maybe they'd like a little bit of that. So, but you go ahead.
No, I'm trying to think of anything
else. And
LC
called Colton Vashik last night. So whenever you see or talk to LC, we got to hammer him on that, because he messed up that pronunciation. Usually that's my job, to jack up the way somebody's kids' names are said. LC dropped the ball on that one last night.
Isn't Vasic the sleeping pill that Steve Martin gets from Father of the Bride 2 that knocks him out? From what's his name?
Yeah, I've never seen Father.
You've never seen Father of the Bride 2, Justin?
No, I haven't. I got to be careful what I say here. No, I have parts that determine I don't watch that.
It's Steve Martin.
I'm wondering if you still have those parts.
Yeah, Steve Martin is cranking out the chick flicks. Justin, you're missing out.
Is an entertainment genius.
Yeah. He stars in Father of the Bride 2, Justin.
Is that the one that has like 15 kids? They have like 15 kids.
No.
And he gets kicked out of his family where he was adopted. No, that's the jerk.
So Martin Short gives him a pill, and he's like, Vashik. And he like pops a couple of them, and then it turns out
Joe's trying to correct us back into the lane, buddy, because we're swerving. And I'm curious if Ian still has parts.
Somebody fact check me in the comments if that medicine is. That's right.
Well, it's a good Thursday.
Let's get to a couple questions we have here. Obviously, if you're here for the Johntay stuff, go to the beginning of the video. We spent the first 25 minutes talking about that. Reasons why, potential reasons why, what it means for Texas. That's all in the beginning of the video. So go check that out. Manuel Soto, I feel like a couple of years ago, Sark's opening script was always on point. This year, that's not the case. What do you think the issue is? Interceptions. I looked at this the other day, and the way I kind of portioned it was Quinn's first 7 passes, and just to see how that was part of the script. And because, you script about 15 or 20, and maybe they have a pass heavy one, maybe they have a run heavy one, but I went 7. And you can really tell how the course of a game goes. But the thing that struck me on that was 2 interceptions. And if you do that, like, it's going to make any opening script look bad, because then you have to change some stuff on the fly, because you could be down 3-0 or 7-0. And so I think interceptions is
and penalties. Like against Michigan, that first drive, Texas, poor Cam Williams couldn't get out away from himself. But yeah, the picks are the main thing, and those tip passes at the line. You just got to find better windows there, better passing lanes. Quinn Ewers knows that. I know he kind of had a poor answer about it a couple weeks ago, but he knows you got to find some passing lanes when it comes to that, because they will literally put linebackers in leverage just to screw with the horizontal game.
Joe, by the way, it's Vosnik. So I was close, but not quite. Not Vosnik. Vosnik.
Vosnik
is the name of the sleeping pill. But Joe, did you look at the running numbers?
No.
I wonder if I'm just spitballing because it's a good question. Like, why is the script not doing a little more damage consistently? And I wonder if the opening script runs used to be more efficient than they have been this year. But I don't know if that's the case. It may not be the case. It may not be why, but I wonder.
I mean, the script that stands out to me the most is the Michigan one. And a lot of that had to do with their prowess on third down. And that's another thing. Like, when this team is really good on third down,
buddy, they're unbeatable.
But when it's and that passing game has really made the script look good, especially if they're just converting third downs and they convert 3rd and 7s, that can make a script look good. But if they're not doing something like that, then it changes things drastically. But I don't know about the run efficiency. Like I said, 7 is very rough because it could have been a run heavy game plan. It takes like the second quarter for him to get 7. But like I would try really hard just to think that that's a nice round number for probably on the opening script, or at least part of it. And it's also stuff we know Sark likes to run. They talk about the whole, like, they go over the pregame script on Friday, try to find the stuff that they're good at. Who knows? Maybe there could be a variety of different reasons. One more before we get into the SEC slate. What are some of the differences from Kenny Baker to Bo Davis in how they coach their players?
Bo is louder. Bo is much louder. Kenny's kind of more of a technician in a sense. You know, say Kenny's Tony Dungy, where Bo Davis is more Buddy Ryan. It's just kind of more of a hard-nosed kind of skill to it, style to it, but that's just how Bo rolls. He's just a big guy with a big voice, big personality. Kenny Baker's a little bit more of a technician, a little bit more of a talker, a little bit more of a fundamental guy. But that's just coming off of sources, talks about, from guys at practice. But that's the difference in coaching players. Recruiting players, I think it's very similar in a sense. They both build relationships. They both kind of go out of their way for certain players. But on the field, I think that's kind of the difference. Bo was a little bit more boisterous. He wears the same sweatshirt for the last 27 years. I don't know if he's washed it. I haven't checked. But Kenny Baker's a little bit more demure. He's a little bit more hands-on, technical, talks through stuff. Bo just wants to holler.
Do they use the same kind of dip?
I don't think Kenny dips.
Everybody does Zen these days, just get the nicotine without the tobacco. Yeah, it's weird. Makes me any type of oral tobacco makes me throw up, which is a thing I'm thankful for every day.
Yeah.
You want to go through
the hard lesson with some chaw on that one.
Same.
Y'all want
to go through the
SEC? Let's go through this godforsaken conference. Let's see what we got here.
So there are a bunch of ranked versus ranked. There are 2 ranked versus ranked matchups. Every ranked team except A&M is in action, and all 3 of Texas' remaining opponents are on bye. Let's go over this one. Texas 21.5. What do y'all think about that?
Until I see Quinn Ewers back to kind of how he was the first of the season, I think that line's too steep. I think Texas is a couple touchdowns better than Florida on the field and on paper, but I'm not giving them 3 touchdowns until I see Quinn Ewers emerge out of his cocoon.
I'm expecting that they will cover. If they don't, I'm going to have some concerns because Florida's so beat up, and I think if they don't cover, it's because there's something not right on the offense. There's something that's deeply broken.
I'm trying to find the point total. If y'all give me 1 second,
that's a good.
Just to see what the anticipated score is. There we go.
Because they could hold Florida. Go ahead.
It's 47.5. So let's say it's 22 for round even number, 48 for a round even number. What would that be? 20. 32-16.
That might be what my prediction was.
I can't do math that quick. Maybe somebody in the comments. But point total is 47.5. Spread is 21.5. I could see this being a game where Texas covers, but it's like 27-3.
Yeah.
So if you're a fan of Pete Kwiatkowski, maybe you take the under on this one.
One more quick note on that. If it's possible Florida could slow down the game enough to where Texas could fail to score an impressive number of points, but still play well on offense.
Yeah.
Like 28-3 doesn't have to mean that the offense sucks.
If you get 9 possessions and score on 4 of them, score touchdowns on 4 of them, you can live with that.
Yeah.
This is a big one. Georgia at Ole Miss. Who knows if they're going to have enough to put a team together. Looks like Georgia's going to have Smael Molden back. But here's the thing, like Carson Beck may not be that good. At least as good as everybody thought he would be. And this Ole Miss defense can get after quarterbacks and make life difficult, Justin.
They can, and I'm not the biggest Jackson Dart fan. I think the kid has a lot of holes in his game, but he does come up big sometimes in some of these situations. Georgia has hung around the rim with every team except Texas. For whatever reason, Georgia's kind of played to the level of their competition each week until they faced Texas 3 weeks ago in Austin. I still don't buy Ole Miss. I just can't. I don't know why. There's something about Ole Miss I can't buy. Now, if Georgia goes into Oxford and loses, that absolutely helps Texas in the SEC in their chase for the SEC championship game. So that's something we're all going to pay attention to. But for Carson Beck, Ladd McConkey isn't going to walk through that door anymore. And without Ladd McConkey, the former 5-star elite pass catcher, that's what's holding Carson Beck back, in my opinion.
And Bowers.
It's not as funny with Bowers. Bowers is more truthful, but it's funnier that the offense literally fell apart once Ladd McConkey no longer was on the roster.
He was so good, though.
Trevor
he
Etienne
was
the best player.
He was, man. He was a mixture of Danny Amendola and Wes Welker.
Oh, man.
Those just the first 2 white guys to come to your mind?
Yeah. Brian Finneran. But Brian Finneran was like 6'5".
Oh, that's a throwback. I think I might like Ole Miss, but it would make me nervous if I'm Lane that Georgia didn't seem like they had that much for Florida. And you kind of wonder if this is an on-switch, off-switch kind of team.
I thought that too.
And that you're gonna see DKR Georgia in this game, and not cocktail party Georgia.
I think Ian's right.
We'll see.
I haven't done all the tiebreaker stuff for this week just because a lot going on. But if Georgia loses this game, they'll have a loss to a 2-loss Bama in the SEC, 2-loss Ole Miss in the SEC. They'll be in the same boat as those teams and hoping and praying for some teams that they don't play to lose, I think. So
it's a great game. The stakes are great. Ole Miss is still in it with a win.
Yeah, the stakes are big.
We'll be stuck in DKR still, Joe.
I know.
We need to pull it up on your laptop.
It'll be you and I. It'll be you and I, Ian.
Oh, that's right. Well then,
somebody bring their iPad.
Yeah, bring your iPad and snacks.
South Carolina at Vanderbilt. I mean, this one could be fun.
That's actually going to be a fun game, guys, because I think those are the 2 teams in the SEC this year that we may not have given enough credit for at the beginning of the year. Of course, our man Paul Waddlington was all over the Diego Pavia train, way ahead of everyone else. But we didn't really know how Vanderbilt was going to play, throughout the season. They've come to find out they are a very well coached team that plays incredibly hard. Joe's right. This is an interesting game because South Carolina with a healthy Lenore Sellers is pretty good on offense. And after talking to a couple guys down in SEC country last week, they believe South Carolina has the best defensive line in the conference.
I'm glad you brought that up because what they should do is run at them.
Well, that's all.
I know A&M tried to do that, but I know A&M tried to do that, but A&M with Marcel Reed's one-dimensional-ish. Here's another thing. Actually, I was about to say South Carolina needs this to get bowl eligible, but then I see Wofford is on their schedule, so they're going to make it to a bowl, unless the Terriers strike back in some epic way. But South Carolina could get to like 8 wins, possibly, if they beat this team, get Wofford, and then knock off one of Clemson or Missouri.
The thing with South Carolina, too, is I think it's pretty stark how much different they are at home than they are on the road. And so I think to me, that's a really good game. I think that's a fun matchup after Texas and Florida wrap it up after the 11 a.m. kickoff. That's something Ian and I may have to have our side eye on.
Texas definitely is rooting for Vanderbilt in this one.
Throughout the rest of the season, buddy. And I think, what are they, 24? Aren't they ranked 24, Joe?
Not in the playoff ranking. So I'm using playoff rankings.
Okay. That's what you're using. I was about to say, I thought they jumped back into the poll.
I think both these teams may be AP poll ranked, but not.
Those are two teams that have played a little inconsistent, but also if they're on your schedule in 2024, you better be ready because they're going to fight.
I got a take here. You guys ready? I'm going to tell you Diego Pavia's stats last week against Auburn. Ready? 9 for 22 passing for 143 yards. 12 carries for 26 yards.
They won
17-7. Vanderbilt is wearing down. I think South Carolina is going to go in there and lay a whooping. They are big. They're physical. They could have a letdown after beating A&M.
Right.
But that would be the worry. But I think they're actually going to go in with momentum and just be a rolling butcher ball of knives against this team. I think Vanderbilt's defense is not going to be able to tackle these guys for 4 quarters.
This game could be over in like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe over before the 2:30 games.
Don't forget, Georgia State beat Vanderbilt this year.
Yep. And it's
led by former Texas cornerback, current Georgia State starting safety Kenyatta Watson II.
Oh yeah,
found a good spot for him. Of course, we're going through the SEC slate. If you're just joining us, we went through the Johntay stuff. The first almost 30 minutes of the video, we're talking about Johntay and
Mark has a good question. If you want me to hit it real quick, Joe. Mark,
real quick.
Is it true Johntay got dismissed or just decided to leave? This was a joint decision. It wasn't one or the other. This was kind of a parting of the ways, a happy, amicable divorce, if there is such a thing, an amicable divorce, so to speak. It wasn't one or the other. This was kind of building up. Good question, Mark.
Mississippi State at Tennessee. Now, was it Lebby worked for Heupel at UCF, right? That's the connection between these two?
I don't remember that.
Lebby worked for Heupel at UCF, yes.
Okay.
That happened.
So, battle of similar offenses. But a night game at Neyland, I don't think, is where Mississippi State makes a breakthrough.
What's funny about Tennessee is that they are all defense and run game.
Yeah.
Like their passing game is not that impressive. Also, Mississippi State, this is the first time I'm realizing these two teams are playing. My first instinct is that Mississippi State is going to play some flyover because they already have a similar design to that. And I hate Tennessee minus 23.5 because they're going to have to stop Mississippi State from scoring late when they just keep taking shots even though they're down. And they're going to have to figure out how to run offense on the flyover defense, the 3 high safety defense, which they have thus far this season not shown that they can do.
But here's the thing. You know who the defensive coordinator at Mississippi State is? Coleman Hutzler.
Yeah, the former linebacker coach.
Who was brought in
from South Carolina.
Well, he was brought in by Herman to switch from the 3 high stuff to help who was the defensive coordinator, Chris Ash, with a lot of the quarter stuff. So they may
if I remember correctly, Hutzler left a pretty good little mark in Austin that one year he was there. I know he built a really good rapport with the linebackers and the recruits. There were some recruits. Remember they got that kid out of Shadow Creek a couple years ago, and then he flipped to Ole Miss when Hutzler, I guess when Herman
Terrence
something.
Cooks.
Yeah.
Terrence Cooks.
He ended up at TCU, and I think though.
There you go. Yeah, good memory, Ian. My Mr. Notebook.
Charlie, appreciate it as always. We'll get you on here
for the brand, brother. For the brand.
I like this comment. ABC is going to be on fire this weekend. There may not be a reason to change the channel. And this question, I think, kind of leads into what our next game to talk about is. From AR, how much do you think the CFP will change by the time the regular season is over? Well, let's look at I'm going to try to get a look at the bracket real quick. And
if
maybe
week
bring
to
that
week
up.
has shown us anything, it's going to change drastically.
Okay. So, let me find a good bracket on Twitter because that's going to be key.
Well, they have Alabama in the 11 seed,
right,
traveling to Austin to play 6 seed Texas in the current. And I'm with Ryan Nelson. LSU is going to win this game. They're coming off a bye. They're going to win. They're going to torch that young Alabama secondary, and then Bama will be out probably.
So here's a couple things to consider. The answer to the question is how much will it change by the time the regular season is over? There's a good chance. I'm going to go by the rankings on the left and not the bracket. There's a good chance 1 could play 2 again, or 1 or 2 play number 8. 2 plays 8. 6 could work their way in there somewhere. Number 4, it's no full guarantee they go. SMU would want to say something about it. Alabama plays LSU, who's not on this list. SMU would have to beat Clemson or Miami. There's so many different things to where this bracket could change drastically, and these rankings are going to change drastically just because so many members of the top 14 are playing each other or could have to play each other again.
Wouldn't SMU, in the scenario SMU and Miami face each other in the ACC championship?
Yeah.
That would flip this thing upside down. And I'm ready to tell you guys, SMU is very qualified to play in the ACC. I've been shocked. I've been surprised.
And then, what happens when, or if or when BYU keeps winning but loses to a Colorado who's probably in the teen?
I think that pushes them to the Boise State range.
Well,
if they stay in the top 12.
Yeah, there's so much that is going to change.
So yes, the answer that dude, it can change drastically week to week. That's only in 2024. Only in the first year we use this model is it going to be absolutely bananas.
And one of the games that is going to affect this bracket is right here. And I've got to let me find. I found a really cool stat. Alabama 2.5 point favorite on the road in Tiger Stadium. I looked it up. In the last 23 years, Alabama has been a favorite in Tiger Stadium 3 times. 2002, Nick Saban lost 31-0 to Dennis Francione.
Yeah.
2010, Nick Saban lost 24-21 to Les Miles. In 2022, Nick Saban lost 32-31 to Brian Kelly. So the 3 of the 7 losses. They're 2-7 straight up. Or excuse me, LSU is 2-7 straight up against Alabama as a home underdog at Tiger Stadium, and Nick Saban's been involved in a third of those games.
So that what in 2011, that 9-6 game or whatever, was that in Tuscaloosa?
It was in Tigers. Yes,
it was in Alabama
because the national championship game was in New Orleans.
New Orleans, yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, Nick Saban involved in a lot there.
This is a rivalry. This is an organic rivalry that I absolutely love. For years, I don't think Alabama LSU was ever a big deal in the SEC before their big boom and heyday. But now, just because of the way these teams have been growing and matching up over the last 15 years, 20 years, this is one of the best organic rivalries in college football, in my opinion. No matter what their records are, I think they do bring out the best in each other. This is going to be a fun game because LSU, I love Garrett Nussmeier. I actually think he might be, I was championing Quinn Ewers as going to be the top quarterback picked in 2025, and I still feel like he has that opportunity. But, dude, Garrett Nussmeier might jump up there and snag it. He makes some serious NFL throws. Alabama's secondary is a little bit different than the way it was the last few years. But then again, LSU has to prep for Jalen Milroe. And so this is going to be a good game. And that stadium at 6:30 is going to be nuts.
I am curious what would happen if Alabama lost this game. What happens to the Bama fan base? Because
it'll depend on what Kalen DeBoer wore. It'll depend on what shirt he wore.
Because the last time that Alabama lost 3 games or more in a football season,
2007,
2010.
Yep,
they lost 3 in 2010. That's the year after they won the national championship.
Yeah, Cam Newton beat them. LSU.
Oh, that's right.
LSU beat them. Joe just said, and then they found another loss in there.
You remember that? You remember that Auburn loss, Ian? I was telling because I think that was Greg McElroy's last season, and Alabama was starting to click towards the end of the season. And I told people, look, Auburn's great, but I think it's still Alabama. Alabama went up 28-0 in the first half, and
the Garcia game.
Yeah, I'm just like, I tried to tell y'all. And the second half was a different book, buddy. Woo!
It was also the
game of his life.
It was also the game with the tree poisoner.
Oh, yeah.
Harvey Updike.
Yeah, Harvey Updike called in, and he was so mad that somebody defaced. He was talking about Scam Newton, and he talked about how they defaced some statue and Brandon, and he's like, I'll tell you what, though, I poisoned their tree. I was like, wait, what?
Only Paul Feinbaum has a radio show where the interview turns into a deposition.
Oh, man.
There's another one. I forgot about this one.
This is an old Big 8
the Big
rivalry.
8 is back. And here's the thing. I think we're about to see – Ian, don't roll your eyes quite yet. If those guys are healthy, Burks, Farouk, anybody with a pulse, this Oklahoma offense is going to look better this weekend compared to the rest of the season that we've seen.
Can you pull up the Missouri injury report?
Yeah, I'm looking for it right now.
Is Brady Cook still out?
That's another aspect. Brady Cook is kind of on the mend, and that in their their quarterback. No, that is their quarterback. They have somebody else who.
The running back was out, I think, a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
Okay, here
are they coming off a bye? What's up with Missouri these days?
Okay, Missouri was having a great season until they went to College Station, and now they don't know if they're still even playing football. I don't know what they're doing.
They're coming off a bye week.
All right, here's Oklahoma's. So
I don't care about
Barnes, Farouk, Burks, Sawchuk, all those guys are questionable.
whatever. Look, show the Missouri one.
Cook, questionable. Noel,
Ain't Noel.
questionable. Mookie Cooper, doubtful.
Yeah.
Mookie Cooper. Joe, who was Mookie Cooper committed to the first time in his recruitment?
Florida State, then Texas, right?
I thought it was Texas first.
Oh, I'm thinking of somebody else.
yeah. It was, remember, you and I think you and I were at the junior day.
Yeah.
When he committed that day and he walked out, Mookie, little bitty dude. Mookie's like 5'7", maybe 5'8". And I remember he committed. It was one of the first commitments of that class for Texas, if I remember correctly.
It's funny that Caden Green is on the injury report for this game.
Who?
Caden Green,
former Oklahoma.
Oh, I'm about to say, I recognize that name. Caden Green. Where did he go?
I think Missouri has been trying to make statements against Oklahoma since they came back. Fencing him out of St. Louis, where Oklahoma had been living for a long time, and talking trash online. And they're coming off a bye. If Missouri is healthy enough, I think they got a lot stored up for Oklahoma.
I think if one of Barnes and Sawchuk are healthy and one of Farouk and Burks are healthy, this could be a close one. Because here's the other thing. The line is only 2.5. Oh, what do we got?
Billy Napier will be retained as head football coach at the University of Florida. Sources tell On 3.
The timing of that is everything. Because why are they telling you that now?
Tom Herman.
That's telling you go take your lumps with that third string quarterback.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well,
take care of Lagway. Don't rush Lagway out there.
This is the exact same thing as Herman is our coach. Dear Gator Nation, I wanted to let you know that Billy Napier will continue as head football coach of the Florida Gators. Nowhere in this statement is the 4 digits 2025.
Yeah, you're right. It's not a denial.
Yeah.
But I think they're trying to prep.
I want to reiterate that Herman is our coach. Same exact thing.
But I think they're trying to prep the fan base for acceptance.
Yes.
When they shut the timing makes me believe the timing and the nature of football now makes me believe that they will retain Napier, and they're trying to prep the fan base so they don't, when Texas whoops them 35-3, whatever, they're not all calling for his head.
Because they protected the future in the quarterback, DJ Lagway. This gives him an out for not having to play Lagway in this game. Absolutely. Yep. And also, listen, this isn't new news, to be honest with you. We've been hearing for the last couple of weeks that people in Florida have, they looked at the buyout. They looked at potential coach, new coach hires. And I think they've come to the realization that Napier was they're going to try to give him another season. Look, if you talk to college coaches in the country, they love Billy Napier. They think he's an incredible coach. And so maybe this is Florida's way of saying, hey, don't rush Lagway. Don't rush the future. Go ahead and play that Ivy League kid. Take your lumps. Come back, reassess, be ready for next year.
Oh, my gosh. I was going to say they could still be bowl eligible, but I just looked at their final 4 games.
Here's the thing.
Oh, my gosh.
They're gonna beat Florida State. They're not. I don't think they're beating Texas this weekend. They could 2 games in the swamp. I think could, if they can make it close, and then get Lagway back for the bowl, get to 7-6. It's not an easy path.
I would be tempted. It depends on the injury, but I would be tempted to just shut it down with Lagway.
This might be the signal that they're doing that too, Ian.
I think so.
I believe that.
I don't want him aggravating that thing and missing spring.
You don't want it lingering into the spring. You don't want him taking other shots with playing with an injury, trying to push through and then potentially re-injuring or hurting something else, including confidence, which is the number one injury factor when it comes to quarterbacks that have a hard time. You can mess up knees, ankles, shoulders, backs, all that stuff. If their confidence isn't there, they're toast.
Joe's right, though. It's not a denial, for sure.
Isn't this what
That's Joe with the full hat, though. He's really good at that, and he's right usually.
Isn't this what Caleb Williams had, or was Caleb Williams less severe during the Heisman season?
Oh man, I don't know.
I don't think that was a hammy, was it? I thought it was.
I thought it was an infected finger from nail polish remover. I couldn't remember exactly, or it's something was his eye because of the mascara he was applying every day.
Anything? 4 teams on bye. Texas plays 3 of them. Arkansas next week. Kentucky, A&M. Any reaction to that?
There are going to be fist fights, guys. Arkansas is going to be a bloodbath. Kentucky is going to be a fist fight, and Texas A&M, Lord, I cannot even imagine what that place is going to be like on November 30th. I cannot wait to see what happens in that stadium.
It's going to be fun.
He is like, yeah, and I'm a little bit of that too.
So, guys,
losing Le'Veon Moss was just I hate that. That is terrible for them. That was their dude, man. That boy. I remember Texas really liked him. They wanted him in their class. That kid could run.
I'm with y'all. Well, went a little earlier. Again, if you are just tuning in, we got almost 6,000 between all our platforms. Thank you for tuning in. Head to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@InsideTexasFootball. We spend the first 25 minutes of the show talking about Johntay. So make sure you head there, give us a like, subscribe to the channel. We break down a lot of the different reasons. And of course, head to InsideTexas.com, use promo code IT1. Get yourself 2 months of access for just $1. Justin, Ian, thank y'all for doing this a little early. I think we did this right. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.